Okay, so quadratic trinomials of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. Again, I'll say it again. The only difference from yesterday is that we have a coefficient of x squared. There's a number before the x squared. Let's multiply by that. And it slightly changes our method. Alright, so we've got a couple more steps to follow through. And the reality is, as you get better at these, you'll be able to see quicker. And I would imagine some of you later on will be able to just quickly work it out and actually go from this step to the last step of having it fully factorized. But for the moment, we need to take a couple of extra steps. It's a little bit more involved than if you don't have a coefficient of x. Okay? So basically the idea is, you need to find two numbers. It's the same for the sum. They have a sum of b, which is the second term. They have a sum, which is the coefficient of the x term. They have to add up to b. But their product has to be the same as a times c. Okay, so the product of these two numbers we're looking for is AC, a times c. And so that's not always going to be, sometimes it is actually the numbers a and c, but not always. So we're looking for two numbers, and again I'll repeat it, two numbers that have a sum of b, this middle term here, sum to this one, and they have a product of a times c. That's what their product is. We're looking for two numbers that do this. So if you can do that, then we take a couple of steps to divide the trinomial actually into 4 terms, and then we factorize in pairs as we've done before, and then you'll be able to fully factorize. Okay? So we're going to get used to seeing that, so we're going to have a look at an example. So this one here, 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. Okay, so if you look over here, we're looking for two numbers, firstly that have a sum of 5, because that's our b in this case, that's our middle term, so it has to add to 5, and 2 times 2, which is 4, they have to have a product of 4. You have to multiply whatever two numbers you're looking for, they have to add up to 5, and they have to multiply to 4. Okay, and in this case both are positive. So what are the two numbers that we're looking at? It is 4. Okay, 4 times 1 is 4. So that's good. And we've got 4 plus 1 is equal to 5. So those two numbers satisfy my conditions that I've set. Alright? Now, if this was just what we were doing yesterday, a trinomial without a coefficient of x squared, I could just go ahead and factorize this fully. But there's a slight difference today. I need to take a couple of extra steps. So how I'm going to write it is this. I'm going to split the middle term, 5x, into 2, using these two numbers of 4 and 1. And so I'm going to have 2x squared plus 4x plus x, which is 1 times x, plus 2. Are you all following what I've done here? What I've done is, I have this 5x term. I've said 5x is equal to 4x plus x. So I've rewritten this expression using 4x and x instead of the 5x. Okay? So I'm saying, okay, 5x is equal to this, using these two numbers, knowing the fact that they add together. I've used that to split the term into 2, so I have 2x squared plus 4x plus x plus 2. Okay? Any questions? Reasonably clear? It's just the first time looking through. We're going to have a look over a few others, so it's okay. Now, what I need to do now is factorize in pairs. So I'm going to factorize the first pair, I'm going to factorize this second pair. Alright, so that equals to, what's a common factor of 2x squared and 4x? 2 is a factor, and x is also a factor. Okay, so it's good. So 2 and x together, we get 2x. So what I'm going to do is 2x, and what I'm left with is x plus 2. X plus 2. And then I have plus. Are there any common factors between x and 2? No. So it's just x plus 2. The thing about this is, what do you notice about here? This and this. What's common about both of these? X plus 2 is a factor of both these terms. And so if I take x plus 2 out, what am I left with in the second set of brackets? 2x for this one, and what am I left with in this one? Josh? It's just 1, that's right. So x plus 2, 2x plus 1. And so that's the way I factorize. Okay, so I've taken, like we said, we identify the two numbers, you split the middle term into 2 using this, and then you group them in pairs, factorize, and then you can fully factorize. So if we expanded this, we'd find that it would get back to this one. Yeah. The 1. So x plus 2 is actually 1 times x plus 2. Yeah, so when you divide x plus 2 by x plus 2, you're left with 1. Okay, so that's where we get that. So if you want to think about it like this, you could also think of it like that. But we don't write it because whenever you have a 1 multiplied by anything, it doesn't change. Any other questions about this? Okay, so we should be familiar with this process. It's just this step here. Identifying the two numbers we can do. You just have to split the middle term into those two parts and then factorize in pairs. Okay? Let's have a look at a second example. Let's go through. 3x squared minus 7x plus 4. So we need to find two numbers. We're looking for two numbers that have a sum of minus 7 and have a product of 12. And the 12 comes from 3 times 4. Okay? So a product of 12, positive 12, and a sum of minus 7. There's a sum which is negative, a product which is positive. What does that tell us about the two numbers? Yeah, both have to be negative. Because this is positive. It must be negative times negative. And if this is negative, we also must have two negatives. Alright? So that's our first thing. We have two negative numbers. What else can we find out? Then we start thinking about the factors of 12. Sonia, what do you think of that? Yeah, negative 4, negative 3. So if we have negative 3 plus negative 4, that's equal to negative 7. And then negative 3 times negative 4 is equal to 12. So I've got my two numbers here. What is it doing? Okay, which is 12. Now, so we've discovered our two numbers, minus 3, minus 4. So what we have to do now is split the middle term into those two. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3x squared minus 3x minus 4x plus 4. 3x squared minus 3x minus 4x plus 4. Any questions about this step? Follow what I'm doing here. Split the minus 7 into minus 3 minus 4. Now I'm going to factorize these. I'm going to look at these two pairs and factorize each half. So, Matt, can you factorize the first two terms for me? You've got 3x squared minus 3x. What's the common factor? Good. So 3x. And then what goes inside the bracket? Oh, sorry, 3x. Thank you. So 3x. And then what goes in the bracket, sorry?
The x.
Yep. Good. X minus 1. Alright, now if we factorize this set of brackets, these two, what common factor are we going to pull out here? We're going to pull out 4 or negative 4. Now we'll pull out negative 4. So can you factorize this one for me?
Yeah, it would be negative or then the bracket x minus 1.
Yeah, x minus 1. Why is it x minus 1? Rob, can you tell me why it's x minus 1? No? Right, tell us why it's x minus 1. Yeah, so if you retrack your steps, negative 4 times x is minus 4x. Negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4. Alright? So, if you haven't realized yet, this idea of understanding the negatives and positives and how they all work, you're just going to be continually going over that and thinking through what sign is it going to be. Now, what do we notice about this expression? What's similar between these two? What's the same? X minus 1. So we take out the x minus 1, and then what do we have left? 3x minus 4. Good. Alright, and that's how we end up factorizing this expression to here. Question? This one to here. So first thing is to find these two numbers that have a sum of the middle term and have a product of the two. Okay, so you got minus 2 and minus 4, and then you use those numbers to split the middle term up. And that's you rewrite, and then you do this one. Oh. Yes, sir. Okay, I'm going to do 2 more examples. I'll try to do a bit quicker. Like this. Right, this is the last of our factorizing techniques. Everything after this in this topic is applying all the different ways of factorizing to simplify expressions. Okay, so once you get this one, we say it's time to go over and practice all these things that we've done. There's nothing new to do after this. It's simply applying all the things that we've learned in different contexts. Okay? So we've got time to go over and actually take your time to sort of master the different factorizing techniques. Alright, so go back up here. 18x squared plus 9x minus 9. What's the first thing that you notice about this one? Adam? It is. Okay, always look for common factors that you can pull out of all the terms, because then it makes your life much more simple. 9 is a common factor. I don't know what's the matter with this. Oh, good. 9 is a common factor. Okay? So, we need to pull that out. That equals to 9 2x squared. Let's get in trouble with this. 2x squared, oh, this one, plus x minus 1. Okay? We've got 9 as our common factor, we pulled that out. Now, if we ignore the 9 is always going to stay at the front. So we can ignore that for the moment and just do the things with what's inside. So we're looking for 2 numbers that do what? What do the 2 numbers need to do? They need to... They have to add up to the coefficient of x, which is 1. So we're ignoring this 9. We're just looking at what's inside the bracket. They have to add up to 1, because this one's the coefficient x by itself, the coefficient of that is 1. And they have to multiply to negative coefficient. If you have a term x, 3x, this 3 is the coefficient. I'm sure that... Okay, that's the name for the number before a term, before the variable is the coefficient of that term. Okay? So we're looking for looking for 2 numbers. Get it. I'm stopping this.